Thank you. Haribo.
ॐ अज्ञानातिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुर्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदन्तिकं वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरोः श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवंश श्रीरूपं साग्रजतं सह गण रघुनाथमितं तं सवजीवं साद्वैतं स्वदूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपदं सह सह गण ललितं श्रीवैष्णवंश हे हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीनो बंधो जगतपते गोपिशा गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते तप्त कंचन गौरंगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवे प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वंशाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धु भवेव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद। ओह
Krishna Mam
सॉरी
Vishnu.
प्रभु। यस प्रभु। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी निति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाशात देशितारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे।
Haribo. Thank you so much, Prabhu. Okay, today we continue still the chapter Prayers by Vedas Personified. I think we left here. The Supreme Lord is known as Aja or unborn. Similarly, the material nature is also called Aja. Both these terms, Aja and Aja, mean unborn. Because both the material nature and the Supreme Lord are unborn, it is not possible that they can beget the living entities. Hmm. As water in contact with air sometimes presents innumerable bubbles, so a combination of material nature and the Supreme Person causes the appearance of the living entities within this material world. As bubbles in the water appear in different shapes, similarly, the living entities also appear in the material world in different shapes and conditions, influenced by the modes of material nature. As such, it is not improper to conclude that the living entities appearing within this material world in different shapes, such as human beings, demigods, animals, birds, beasts, all get their respective bodies due to different desires. No one can say when such desires were awakened in them, and therefore it is said, Anadi karma, the cause of such material existence is untraceable. No one knows when material life began. Oh Hare Krishna, Jai Prabhu, Dandat Pranam, Jai Shri Prabhupada. No one can say when such desires were awakened in them, and therefore it is said, oh, I read that. Traceable. But it is a fact that it does not have a point of beginning because originally every living entity is a spiritual spark. As sparks falling onto the ground from a fire have a beginning, similarly the living entities coming to this material world have a beginning, but no one can say when. Even during the time of dissolution, these living entities remain merged in the spiritual existence of the Lord, as if in deep sleep. But there original desire to lord it over the material nature do not subside. Again, when there is cosmic manifestation, they come out to fulfill the same desires and therefore they appear in different shapes, in different species of life. This merging into the Supreme at the time of dissolution is compared to honey. In the honeycomb, the tastes of different flowers and fruits are conserved. When one drinks honey, one cannot distinguish what sort of honey has been collected from what sort of flower. But the palatable taste of the honey presupposes that the honey is not homogeneous, but is a combination of different tastes. Another example is that although different rivers ultimately mix with the water of the sea, that does not mean that the individual identities of the rivers are thereby lost. Although the water of the Ganga and the Yamuna mixes with the water of the sea, the river Ganga and river Yamuna still continue to exist independently. The merging of different living entities into Brahman at the time of dissolution involves the dissolution of different types of bodies, but the living entities, along with their different tastes, remain individually submerged in Brahman until another manifestation of the material world. As the salty taste of sea water and the sweet taste of the Ganga water are different, and this difference continually exists, so the difference between the Supreme Lord and the living entities continually exists, even though it appears that at the time of dissolution they merge. The conclusion is, therefore, that even when the living entities become free from all contamination of material conditions, they merge into the spiritual kingdom, but still their individual tastes in relationship with the Supreme Lord continue to exist. The personified Vedas continued, Our dear Lord, it is our conclusion that all living entities are attracted by your material energy, and only and only due to their mistakenly identifying themselves as products of the material nature are they transmigrating from one kind of body to another in forgetfulness, in forgetfulness of their eternal relationship with you. Because of ignorance, these living entities are misidentifying themselves in different species of life, and especially when they are elevated to the human form of life, they identify with a particular class of man, or a particular nation, or race, or so called religion, forgetting their real identity as eternal servants of your Lordship. Due to this faulty conception of life, they are undergoing repeated birth and death. Out of many millions of them, if one becomes intelligent enough by association with pure devotees, he comes to the understanding of Krishna consciousness and comes out of the jurisdiction of the material conception. Okay, Haribol, anyone can continue from this part.
I can continue, Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu, thank you.
Okay. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is confirmed by Lord Chaitanya that the living entities are wandering within this universe in different species of life. But if one of them becomes intelligent enough by the mercy of the spiritual master and the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, then he begins his devotional life in Krishna consciousness. It is said, Harim vina namritim taranti. Without the help of Supreme Personality of Godhead, one cannot get out of the clutches of repeated birth and death. In other words, only the Supreme Lord, the Personality of Godhead, can relieve the conditioned souls from the cycle of repeated birth and death. The personified Vedas continued. The influence of time, past, present, and future, and the material miseries such as excessive heat, excessive cold, birth, death, old age, disease, are all simply the movement of your eyebrows. Everything is working under your direction. It is said in the Bhagavad Gita that all material activity is going on under the direction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. All the conditions of material existence are opposing elements for persons who are not surrendered unto you. But for those who are surrendered souls and are in full Krishna consciousness, these things cannot be a source of fearfulness. When Lord Nrsimhadev appeared, Prahlad Maharaj was never afraid of him, whereas his atheist father was immediately faced with death personified. And was killed. Therefore, although Lord Nrsimhadev appears as death for an atheist like Hiranyakashipu, he is always kind and is the reservoir of all pleasure to the devotees like Prahlad. A pure devotee is not, therefore, afraid of death, birth, death, old age, and disease. Sripad Sridhar Swami has composed a nice verse, the purport of which is as follows. My dear Lord, I am a living entity perpetually disturbed by the conditions of material existence. I have been cracked into different pieces by the smashing wheel of material existence, and because of my various sinful activities while existing in this material world, I am burning in the blazing fire of material reaction. Somehow or other, my dear Lord, I have come to take shelter under your lotus feet. Please accept me and give me protection. Srila Narottam Das Thakur also prays like this. My dear Lord, O son of Nanda Maharaj, associated with the daughter of Vrishabhanu, I have come to take shelter under your lotus feet after suffering greatly in the material condition of life. And I am praying that you please be merciful upon me. Please do not kick me away. I have no other shelter but you. The conclusion is that any process of self realization or God realization other than bhakti yoga or devotional service is extremely difficult. Taking shelter of devotional service to the Lord in full Krishna consciousness is therefore the only way to become free from the contamination of material conditional life, especially in this age. Those who are not in Krishna consciousness are simply wasting their time and they have no tangible proof of spiritual life. It is said by Lord Ramachandra, I always give confidence and security to anyone who surrenders unto me and decides definitely that he is my eternal servant because that is my natural inclination. Similarly, Lord Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, the influence of the material nature is insurmountable, but anyone who surrenders unto me can verily overcome the influence of the material nature. The devotees are not at all interested in arguing with the non devotees to nullify their theories. Rather than wasting their time, they always engage themselves in the transcendental loving service of the Lord in full Krishna consciousness. The personified Vedas continued. Our dear Lord, although great mystic yogis may have full control over the elephant of the mind and the hurricane of the senses, unless they take shelter of a bona fide spiritual master, they fall victims to the material influence and never become successful in their attempts at self realization. Such unguided persons are compared to merchants going to sea on a ship without a captain. By his personal attempts, therefore, no one can get free from the clutches of material nature. One has to accept a bona fide spiritual master and work according to his direction. Then it is possible to cross over the science of material conditions. Sripad Sridhar Swami has composed a nice verse in this connection, in which he says, O all merciful spiritual master, representative of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, when will my mind be completely surrendered unto your lotus feet? At that time, only by your mercy, I shall be able to get relief from all obstacles to spiritual life, and I shall be situated in blissful life. Actually, ecstatic samadhi or absorption in the Supreme Personality of Godhead can be achieved by constant engagement in His service. And this constant engagement in devotional service can be performed only when one is working under the direction of a bona fide spiritual master. The Vedas, therefore, instruct that in order to know the science of devotional service, one has to submit himself unto the bona fide spiritual master. The bona fide spiritual master is he who knows the science of devotional service in disciplic succession. This disciplic succession is called Shrotriam. The prime symptom of one who has become a spiritual master in disciplic succession is that he is 100% fixed in Bhakti Yoga. Sometimes people neglect to accept a spiritual master and instead they endeavor for self realization by mystic yoga practice. But there are many instances of failure, even by great yogis like Vishwamitra. Arjun said in the Bhagavad Gita that controlling the mind is as impractical as stopping the blowing of a hurricane. Sometimes the mind is compared to a maddened elephant. Hathimata, right? Without following the direction of a spiritual master, one cannot control the mind and the senses. In other words, if one practices yoga mysticism and does not accept a bona fide spiritual master, he will surely fail. He will simply waste his valuable time. The Vedic injunction is that no one can have full knowledge without being under the guidance of an acharya. Acharyavan Purusho Veda. One who has accepted an acharya knows what is what. The absolute truth cannot be understood by arguments. One who has attained the perfect Brahminical stage naturally becomes renounced. He does not strive for material gain because by spiritual knowledge he has come to the conclusion that in this world there is no insufficiency. Everything is sufficiently provided by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. A real Brahmana, therefore, does not endeavor for material perfection. Rather, he approaches a bona fide spiritual master to accept orders from him. A spiritual master's qualification is that he is Brahmanishtam, which means that he has given up all other activities and has dedicated his life to working only for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. When a bona fide student approaches a bona fide spiritual master, he submissively prays to the spiritual master, "My dear Lord, kindly accept me as your student and train me in such a way that I will be able to give up all other kinds of processes for self realization and simply engage in Krishna consciousness, devotional service." Haribol, someone can continue, Prabhu.
Dibol, thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna, meet Prabhu. Tandavat Pranam, Jai Shri
Hare
Prabhupada.
Krishna Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam, Jai Shri Ram.
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Prabhu.
Prabhu,
Tandavat
Pranam,
Pranam,
Jai
Jai
Shri
Shri
Prabhupada.
Prabhupada. Meet Prabhu, you want to continue?
Um, okay, Prabhu.
Okay, thank you,
From
Prabhu. From here.
the devotee engaged by the direction of a spiritual master in the transcendental loving service of the Lord contemplates as follows: My dear Lord, you are the reservoir of pleasure. Since you are present, what is the use of the transient pleasure derived from society, relationship, and love? Persons who are unaware of the supreme reservoir of pleasure falsely engage in deriving pleasure from sense gratification, but this is transient and illusory. In this connection, Vidyapati, a great Vaishnava devotee and poet, says, My dear Lord, undoubtedly there is some pleasure in the midst of society, friendship, and love, although it is materially conceived, but such a pleasure cannot satisfy my heart, which is like a desert. In a desert, there is need of an ocean of water. But if only a drop of material hearts are full of multi desires, which cannot be fulfilled within material society of friendship and love, when our hearts begin to derive pleasure from the supreme reservoir of pleasure, then we can be satisfied. The transcendental satisfaction is only possible in devotional service in full Krishna consciousness. The personified Vedas continued, Our dear Lord, you are Satchidanand Vigraha, the ever blissful form of knowledge, and because the living entities are part and parcels of your personality, the natural state of existence is to fully conscious of you. In this material world, anyone who has developed such Krishna consciousness is no longer interested in the materialistic way of life. A Krishna conscious being become disinterested in family life or opulent living conditions, and he requires only a little consciousness of for his bodily needs. In other words, he is no longer interested in sense gratification. The perfection of human life is based on knowledge and renunciation, but it is very difficult to attempt to reach the stage of knowledge and renunciation wherein while in family life. Krishna conscious persons therefore take shelter of the association of devotees or sanctified places of pilgrimage. Such persons are aware of the relationship between the super soul and the individual living entities, and they are never in bodily concept of life because they always carry you in full consciousness within their hearts. They are so purified that any place they go, uh, it becomes a holy place of pilgrimage, and the water which washes their feet is able to deliver many sinful persons hovering within this material world. When Prahlad Maharaj was asked by his atheistic father to describe something very good which he had learned, he replied to his father that a materialistic person who is always full of anxieties due to being engaged in temporary and relative truths, the best course is to give up the blind well of family life and go to the forest to take shelter of Supreme Lord. Those who are actually pure devotees and are celebrated as Mahatmas or great sages, uh, personalities perfect in knowledge. They always think of the Supreme Lord and His lotus feet, and thus they become automatically liberated. Devotees who are always situated in that position become electrified by the inconceivable potencies of the Lord, and thus they themselves become the source of liberation for their followers. and devotees. The Krishna conscious person is fully electrified spiritually, and therefore anyone who touches or takes shelter of such a pure devotee becomes similarly electrified with spiritual potencies. Such devotees are never puffed up with material opulences. Generally, the material opulences are good parentage, education, beauty, and riches. But although a devotee of the Lord may possess all four of these material opulences, he is never carried away by the pride of possessing such distinctions. Great devotees of the Lord travel all over the world and from one place of pilgrimage to another, and on their way they meet many conditioned souls and deliver them by their association and distribution of transcendental knowledge. They reside in places like Vrindavan, Mathura, Dwarka, Jagannath Puri, and Navadvip because only devotees assemble in such places. In this way, they take advantage of saintly association, and by such association, the devotees advance more and more in Krishna consciousness. Such advancement is not possible in an ordinary household life, which is devoid of Krishna consciousness. The personified Vedas continue. Our dear Lord, there are two classes of the transcendentalists: the impersonalists and the personalists. The opinion of the impersonalists is that this material manifestation is false and that only the absolute truth is factual. The view of the personalist, however, is that the material world, although very temporary, is nevertheless not false, but is factual. Such transcendentalists have different arguments to establish the validity of their philosophies. Actually, the material world is simultaneously both truth and untruth. It is truth because everything is an expansion of the supreme absolute truth, and is untruth because the existence of the material world is temporary, and it is created and is annihilated. Because of this, because of its different conditions of existence, the cosmic manifestation has no fixed position. Those who advocate acceptance of this material world as false are generally known by the maxim Brahma Satya Jagat Mithya. They put forward an argument that everything in the material world is prepared from matter. For example, there are many things made of clay, such as earthen pots, dishes, and balls. After their annihilation, these things may become transformed into many other material objects. But in all cases, still exists as continuous. An earthen water jug, and after being broken into a bowl or dish, but either as a dish, bowl, or water jug, the earth itself continues to exist. Therefore, the forms of a water jug, um, therefore the forms of a water jug, bowl, or dish are false, but their existence as earth is real. This is the impersonalist version. This cosmic manifestation is certainly produced from the absolute truth, but because its existence is temporary, it is therefore false. The impersonalist understanding is that the absolute truth, which is always present, is the only truth. In the opinion of other transcendentalists, however, this material world being produced of the absolute truth is also truth. The impersonalist's counter argument is that the material world is not factual because sometimes it is found that matter is produced from spirit soul, and sometimes spirit soul is produced from matter. Such philosophers push forward the argument that although cow dung is dead matter, sometimes it is found that scorpions come out of the cow dung. Similarly, dead matter, um, where it is, similarly, dead matter like and nails and hair comes out of the living body. Therefore, things produced of a certain thing are not always the same. On the strength of this argument, Mayavadi philosophers established that although this cosmic manifestation is certainly an emanation from the absolute truth, the cosmic manifestation does not necessarily have truth in it. According to this view, Brahman, absolute truth Brahman should therefore be accepted as truth, whereas the cosmic manifestation, although a product of the absolute truth, cannot be taken as truth. The view, the view of the Mayavadi philosopher however, is stated in the Bhagavad Gita to be the view of the asuras or demons. Lord says in Bhagavad Gita, Asatyam apratishtham te jagat ahur anishwaram. The asuras view of this cosmic manifestation is that whole creation is false. The asuras think that mere interaction of matter is the source of the creation, and there is no controller or god. But actually, that is not the fact. From the seventh chapter of Bhagavad Gita, we understand that the five gross elements: uh, uh, earth, water, air, fire, and sky, plus the subtle elements, mind, intelligence, and false ego, are the eight separated energies of the Supreme Lord. Beyond this inferior material energy, there is a spiritual energy which is known as the living entities. The living entities are also accepted as the superior energy of the Lord. The whole cosmic manifestation is a combination of inferior and superior energies, and the source of the energies is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Supreme Personality of Godhead has many different types of energies. This is confirmed in the Vedas. Uh, Parashya Shaktir Vividhaiva Shruyate. The transcendental energies of the Lord are variegated, and because such varieties have emanated from the Supreme Lord, they cannot be false. The Lord is ever existing, and the energies are ever existing. Some of the energies is temporary, sometimes manifested, and sometimes unmanifested, but that does not mean that it is false. The example may be given uh, that when a person is angry, he does things which are different from his normal condition of life, but that mood of anger only appears and disappears, does not mean that the energy of anger is false. As such, the argument of the Mayavadi philosophers that the world is false is not accepted by the Vaishnava philosophers. It is confirmed by the Lord Himself that the view that there is no supreme cause of this material manifestation, that there is no God, and that everything is only the creation of the interaction of matter, is a view of the Asuras.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you so much. Okay, does someone else want to read also?
I'll read, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Lebhang Prabhu. Tandat Pranam, Jai Shila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Please accept my humble obeisances of glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Hare
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Dandat Pranam, Jai Shila Prabhupada.
Haribo. Semi Prabhu, you started early today.
No, Prabhu. We were in
I
time.
thought usually you start 7 to 6. Now I
Was
see you started at 5 o'clock.
your alarm at wrong time? Yes, Prabhu.
Haribo.
I tried to tag you so you notice it.
Oh, yes, Prabhu.
Where is
My
Zero?
data was off. Yeah, I want to check him because he said last time he was taking the reading session at 4 o'clock. And I told him it's 20 to 6. Now you came in at 5.
Oh, yes, Prabhu. Yeah, now I'm gonna try
Let me
to
go.
reply.
Let me try to call him.
Yes, Prabhu. Okay, Nityanandan Prabhu, you can continue.
Yes, Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhu.
The Mayavadi philosopher sometimes puts forward the argument of the snake and the rope. In the dark of evening, a curled rope is sometimes due to the ignorance taken for a snake. But mistaking the rope as a snake does not mean that the rope or the snake is false. And therefore, this example used by the Mayavadis to illustrate the falsity of this material world is not valid. When a thing is taken as a fact, but actually has no existence at all, it is called false. But if something is mistaken for something else, that does not mean that it is false. The Vaishnava philosophers use a very appropriate example comparing this material world to an earthen pot. When we see an earthen pot, it does not at once disappear and turn into something else. It may be temporary, but the earthen pot is taken into use for bringing water, and we continue to see it as an earthen pot. Therefore, although the earthen pot is temporary and is different from the original earth, Still, we cannot say that it is false. We should therefore conclude that the entire earth and the earthen pot are both truths because one is the product of the other. We understand from Bhagavad Gita that after the dissolution of this cosmic manifestation, the energy enters into the dissolution of the cosmic. Oh, wait, from Bhagavad Gita that after the dissolution of this cosmic manifestation, the energy enters into the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is ever existing with his varied energies. Because the material creation is an emanation from him, we cannot say that this cosmic manifestation is a product of something void. Krishna is not void. Whenever we speak of Krishna, he is present within his form, quality, name, entourage, and paraphernalia. Therefore, Krishna is not impersonal. The original cause of everything is neither void nor impersonal, but is the Supreme Person. Demons may say that this material creation is Anishwara, without a person, without a controller or God, but such arguments ultimately cannot stand. The example given by Mayavadi philosophers that inanimate matter, like nails and hair, comes out from the living body is not a very sound argument. Nails and hair are undoubtedly inanimate, but they come out not from the animate living being, but from the inanimate material body. Similarly, the argument that the scorpion comes from the cow dung, meaning that a living entity comes from matter, is also not sound. The scorpion which comes out of the cow dung is certainly a living entity, but the living entity does not come out of the cow dung. Only the living entity's material body or the body of the scorpion comes out from the cow dung. The sparks of the living entity, as we understand from the Bhagavad Gita, are impregnated within the material nature and then they come out. The body of the living entity is in different forms is supplied by the material nature, but the living entity himself is begotten by the Supreme Lord. The father and the mother give the body which is necessary for the living entity under certain conditions. The living entity transgrades from one body to another according to his different desires. The desires is in this subtle form of intelligence, mind, and false ego accompany the living entity from body to body. And by superior arrangement, a living entity is put into the womb of a certain type of material body, and then he develops a similar body. Therefore, the spirit soul is not produced from matter, but it takes on a particular type of body under superior arrangement. To our present experience, this material world is a combination of matter and spirit. The spirit is moving the matter. The spirit soul, the living entity, and the matter are different energies of the Supreme Lord. Since both the energies are the products of the Supreme Eternal or the Supreme Truth, they are therefore factual, they are not false. Because the living entity is a part and parcel of the Supreme, he is existing eternally. Therefore, there cannot be any question of birth or death. So called birth and death occur because of the material body. The Vedic version of Sarvam Ka- Kalva Idam Brahma means that since both the energies have emanated from the Supreme Brahman, everything we experience is not different from Brahman. There are many arguments both about the existence of the material world, but the Vaishnava philosophical conclusion is the best. The example of the earthen pot is very suitable. The form of the earthen pot may be temporary, but it has specific purpose. The purpose of the earthen pot is to carry water from one place to another. Similarly, this material body, although temporary, has a special use. The living entity is given a chance from the beginning of creation to evolve different kinds of material bodies according to reserved desires he has accumulated from time immemorial. The human form of body is a special chance in which the developed form of consciousness can be utilized. Sometimes the Mayavadi philosophers push forward the argument that if this material world is truth, then why are householders advised to give up their connection with their material world and take sannyas? But the Vaishnava philosophers' view of sannyas is not that because the world is false. One must therefore give up material activities. The purpose of Vaishnava sannyas is to utilize things as they are intended. Srila Rupa Goswami has given two formulas for our dealing with the material world. When a Vaishnava renounces this materialistic way of life and takes into sannyas, it is not on the it's not on the conception of the falsity of the material world, but to devote himself fully to engaging everything in the service of the Lord. Srila Rupa Goswami therefore gives this formula. One should be unattached to the material world because material attachment is meaningless. The entire world, the entire cosmic manifestation belongs to God, Krishna. Therefore, everything should be utilized for Krishna, and the devotee should remain unattached to material things. This is the purpose of a Vaishnava sannyas. A materialist sticks to the world of sense gratification, but a Vaishnava sannyasi, although not accepting anything for his personal sense gratification, knows the art of utilizing everything for the service of the Lord. Srila Rupa Goswami has therefore criticized the Mayavadi sannyas because they do not know that everything has a utilization for the service of the Lord. On the contrary, they take the world to be false and thus falsely think of being liberated from the contamination of the material world. Since everything is expansion of the energy of the Supreme Lord, the expansions are as real as the Supreme Lord is. That the cosmic world is only temporarily manifested does not mean that it is a false or the source of the manifestation is false. Since the source of the manifestation is truth, the manifestation is also truth. But one must know how to utilize it. The same example can be cited. The temporary earthen pot is produced from the whole earth. But when it is utilized for a proper purpose, the earthen pot is not false. The Vaishnava philosophers know how to utilize the temporary construction of this material world, just as the sane man knows how to utilize the temporary construction of the earthen pot. When the earthen pot is utilized for a wrong purpose, that is false. Similarly, the human form of body or this material world, when utilized for false sense gratification, is false. But if this human form of body and the material creation are utilized for the service of the Supreme Lord, their activities are never false. It is therefore confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita that a little service attitude in utilizing this body and the material world for the service of the Lord can deliver a person from the gravest danger of life. When they are properly utilized, neither the supreme nor the inferior energies emanating from the supreme person of Godhead are false. As far as the fruitive activities are concerned, they are mainly based on the platform of sense gratification. Therefore, an advanced Krishna conscious person does not take to them. The result of fruitive activities can elevate one to the higher planetary systems. But as it is said in the Bhagavad Gita, foolish persons, after exhausting the results of the pious activities in the heavenly kingdom, come back again to this lower planetary system and then again try to go to the higher planetary system. Their only profit is to take the trouble of going and coming back. Just as present many materialist scientists are spoiling their time by trying to go to the moon planet and again come back. Those who are engaged in such activities are described by the Vedas, personified as Anda Parampara, or blind followers of the Vedic ritualistic ceremonies. Although such ceremonies are certainly mentioned in the Vedas, they are not meant for the less for the less for the intelligent class of men. Men who are too much attached to the material enjoyment are captivated by the prospect of being elevated to the higher planetary systems, and so they take such ritualistic activities. But a person who is intelligent or who has taken shelter of a bona fide spiritual master to see things as they are does not take to fruitive activities, but engages himself in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. Persons who are not devotees take to the Vedic ritualistic ceremonies for materialistic reasons, and then they are bewildered. A vivid example can be given. An intelligent person possessing millions of dollars in a currency notes does not hold the money without using it. Even though he knows perfectly well the currency notes in themselves are not but paper. When one has millions dollars in currency notes, he is actually holding only a huge bunch of papers. But if he utilizes it for the purpose, then he benefits. Similarly, although this material world may be false, just like the paper, it has its proper beneficial utilization. Because the currency notes, although paper, are issued by the government, they therefore have full value. Similarly, this material world may be false or temporary, but because it is emanation from the Supreme Lord, it has full value. The Vaishnava philosopher acknowledges the full value of this material world and knows how to properly utilize it. Whereas the Mayavadi philosopher, mistaking the currency note for false paper, gives it up and cannot utilize the money. Srila Rupa Goswami therefore declares that if one rejects this material world as false, not considering the importance of this material world as a means to serve the Supreme Person of Godhead, such renunciation has very little value. A person who knows the intrinsic value of this material world for the service of the Lord, who is not attached to the material world, and who renounces the material world by not accepting it for sense gratification, is situated in the real renunciation. This material world is the expansion of the material energy of the Lord. Therefore, it is real. It is not false. As it is sometimes concluded from the example of the snake and the rope, the personified Vedas continued. The cosmic manifestation, because of the flickering nature of its impermanent existence, appears to less intelligent men to be false. The Mayavadi philosophers take advantage of the flickering nature of this cosmic manifestation to prove their thesis that this world is false. According to the Vedic version, before the creation of this world had no existence, and after dissolution, the world will no longer by manifested. Voiders also take advantage of this Vedic version and conclude that the cause of this material world is void. But Vedic injunction does not say that it is void. The Vedic injunction defines the source of creation and dissolution as Yato va imami bhutani jayante. He from whom this cosmic manifestation has emanated and in whom. And after annihilation, everything will merge. The same is explained in the Vedanta Sutra and in the first verse of the first chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam by the word Janma Yasya. He from whom all things emanate. All the Vedic injunctions indicate that the cosmic manifestation is due to the Supreme Absolute Personality of Godhead. And when it is dissolved, it merges into Him. The same is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita. This cosmic manifestation is coming into existence again and again, dissolving, and after dissolution, it merges into existence of the Supreme Lord. This statement definitely confirms that the particular energy known as Bahiranga Maya, or the external energy, although of flickering nature, is the energy of the Supreme Lord, and such it cannot be false. It simply appears to be false. The Mayavadi philosophers conclude that because the material nature has no existence in the beginning and is non-existent after to be false because it's non-existent. Yes, sir. Got it. After dissolution, it is therefore false. But by the example of the earthen pots and the Vedic version is presented. Although the existence of the particular byproducts of the absolute truth are temporary, the energy of the Supreme Lord is permanent. The earthen pot or water jug may be broken or transformed into another shape, such as that of a dish or a bowl, but the ingredient or the material basis, namely the earth, continues to be the same. The basic principle of this cosmic manifestation is always the same, Brahman or the absolute truth. Therefore, the Mayavadi philosophers, their theory that is it is that it is false is certainly only mental concoction. That the cosmic manifestation is flickering and temporary does does not mean that it is false. The definition of falsity is that which never had any existence but is existing only in name. For instance, the eggs of a horse, or the flower of the sky, or the horn of a rabbit are phenomena which exist only in name. There is no horse eggs, there is no rabbit's horn, nor the flowers growing in the sky. There are many things which exist in the name of imagination, but actually have no factual manifestation. Such things can be called false. But the Vaishnava cannot take this material world to be false simply because its temporary nature is manifesting again and dissolving. The personified Vedas continue to say that the super soul and the individual soul or Paramatma and Jivatma cannot be equal in any circumstance. Although both of them are sitting within the same body, like two birds sitting in the same tree, on the same tree. As declared in the Vedas, these two birds, although sitting as friends, are not equal. One is simply a witness. The bird is a Paramatma or the super soul, and the other bird is eating the fruit of the tree. That is Jivatma. When there is a cosmic manifestation as the Jivatma or the individual soul appears in the creation of in different forms according to his previous futile activities. And this, due to his long forgetfulness of real existence, he identifies himself with a particular form awarded to him by the laws of material nature. After assuming a material form, he becomes subjected to the three material modes of nature and acts accordingly to the continue his existence in the material world. While enwrapped in such ignorance, his natural opulences, although existing in minute quantity, are almost extinct. The opulences of the super soul or the supreme person of Godhead, however, are not diminished. Although he appears within this material world, he maintains all opulences and perfections in full and yet keeps himself apart from all the tribulations of this material world. The conditioned soul becomes entrapped in the material world, whereas the super soul or the supreme personality of Godhead leaves it without affection, just as a snake sheds his skin. The distinction between the super soul and the conditioned individual soul is that the super soul or the supreme person of Godhead maintains his natural opulences known as Sad Aishwarya, Asta Siddhi, and Ashtagudha. Because of the poor fund of knowledge, the Mayavadi philosophers forget the fact that Krishna is always full of six opulences, eight transcendental qualities, and eight kinds of perfection. The six opulences are that no one is greater than Krishna in wealth, in strength, in beauty, in fame, in knowledge, and in renunciation. The first of Krishna's six transcendental qualities is that he is always untouched by the contamination of material existence. This is also mentioned in the Ishwar Upanishad, Apa, Apapa Vidhinam. Just as the sun is never polluted by the contamination, the Supreme Lord is never polluted by any sinful activities. Similarly, although Krishna's actions might sometimes seem to be impious, he is never polluted by such actions. The second transcendental quality is that Krishna never dies. In the Bhagavad Gita, fourth chapter, he informs Arjuna that both he and Arjuna had many appearances in the material world, but he alone remembers all such activities, past, present, and future. This means that he never dies. Forgetfulness is due to death. As we die, we change our bodies. That is forgetfulness. Krishna, however, is never forgetful. He can remember everything that has happened in the past. Otherwise, how could he remember that he first taught the Bhagavad Gita yoga system to the sun god? Vivas, Vivas, wait, Vivaswan. Vivaswan. Therefore, he Therefore, he never dies, nor he does he ever become an old man. Although Krishna was a great grandfather, when he appeared on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, he did not appear as an old man. Krishna cannot be polluted by any sinful activities. Krishna never dies. Krishna never becomes old. Krishna never becomes subject to any lamentation. Krishna is never hungry, and he is never thirsty. What Whatever he desires is perfectly lawful, and whatever he decides cannot be changed by anyone. These are the transcendental qualities of Krishna. Besides that, Krishna is known as Yogeshwara. He has all the opulences of facilities of mystic powers, and such as Anima Siddhi, the power to become smaller than the smallest. It is stated in the Brahma Samhita that Krishna has entered even within the atom. अनन्ददशतरशत परमाणु चयान चयांतरष्ट chayantarashtham. Similarly, Krishna as the Garbhodayakshayi Vishnu is within the gigantic universe, and he is lying in the casual ocean of as Mahavishnu in the body of in a body so gigantic that when he exhales, millions and trillions of universes emanate from his body. This is called Mahima Siddhi. Krishna also has the perfection of Lahima. He can become the lightest. It is stated in the Bhagavad Gita that it is because Krishna enters within the universe and within the atoms that all the planets are floating in the air. That is the explanation of weightlessness. Krishna also has the perfection of prapti. He can get whatever he likes. Similarly, he has the facility of ist, istit, wait, isita, controlling power. He is called the supreme controller, Parameshwara. In addition, Krishna can bring anyone under his influence. This is called Vasita. Krishna is endowed with all opulences, transcendental qualities, and mystic powers. No ordinary living being can be compared to him. Therefore, the Mayavadi's theory that the super soul and the individual souls are equal is only a misconception. The conclusion is that therefore that Krishna is worshipable and that all other living entities are simply his servants. This understanding is called self-realization. Any other realization of oneself beyond this relationship of eternal servitorship of Krishna is impelled by Maya. It is said that the last snare of Maya is to dictate to the living entities to try to become equal to the Supreme Person of Godhead. The Mayavadi philosophers claim to be equal to God, but he cannot reply to the question of why he has fallen into the material entanglement. If he is the supreme God, then how is it that he has been overtaken by the impious activities and thereby subjected to the tribulations of the law of karma? When the Mayavadis are asked about this, they cannot properly answer. The speculation that one is equal to the Supreme Person of Godhead is another symptom of sinful life. One cannot take to Krishna consciousness unless he is completely freed from the sinful activities. The very fact that the Mayavadis claim to have become one with the Supreme Lord means that he is not yet freed from the reactions of sinful activities. Srimad Bhagavatam says that such persons are avisuddha buddhaya, which means that they falsely think themselves liberated, although at the same time they think themselves equal with the absolute truth. Their intelligence is not purified. The personified Vedas said that if the yogis and the jnanis do not free themselves from sinful desires, then their particular process of self-realization will never be successful. My dear Lord, the personified Vedas continued, if saintly persons do not take care to eradicate completely the roots of sinful desires, they cannot experience the super soul. Although he is sitting side by side with the individual soul, samadhi or meditation means that one has to find the super soul within himself. One who is not free from sinful reactions cannot see the super soul. If a person has jewel locket in his necklace but forgets the jewel, it is almost as though he does not possess it. Similarly, if an individual soul meditates but does not actually perceive the presence of the super soul within himself, he has not realized the super soul. Persons who have taken to the path of self-realization must therefore be very careful to be uncontaminated by the influence of Maya. Srila Rupa Goswami says that a devotee should be completely free from all sorts of material desires. A devotee should not be affected by the resultant action of karma and jnana. One simply has to understand Krishna and carry out his desires. That is pure devotional stage. Mystic yogis who still have contaminated desires for sense gratification never become successful in their attempt, nor can they realize the supersoul within their individual self. As such, the so-called yogis and jnanis who are simply wasting their time in different types of sense gratification, either by mental speculation or by exhibition of limited mystic powers, will never become liberated from conditional life and will continue to go through repeated births and deaths. For such persons, both this life and the next life become source of tribulation. Such persons are already suffering tribulations in this life, and because they are not perfect in self-realization, they will be plagued with further tribulation in the next life. Despite all endeavors to attain perfection, such yogis contaminated by desires for sense gratification will continue to suffer in this life and in the next. Srila Vishwanatha Chakravarti Thakur remarks in this connection that if sannyasis and persons in the renounced order of life who have left their homes for self-realization do not engage themselves in devotional service of the Lord, but become attracted by philanthropic work, such as opening educational institutions, hospitals, or even by monasteries, churches, or temples of demigods, they can find only trouble from such engagements, not only in life but in the next. Sannyasis who do not take advantage of this life to realize Krishna simply waste their time and energy in activities outside the jurisdiction of the renounced order of life. A devotee's attempt to engage his to energies in such activities as constructing a Vishnu temple is however never wasted. Such engagements are called Krishnarthe Akhila Chetasa. Krishna Akila Chesta. Variegated activities performed to please Krishna. A philanthropist opening a school building and a devotee constructing a temple are not on the same level. Although a philanthropist opening an education institution may be past activity, it comes under the law of karma. Whereas constructing a temple for Vishnu is devotional service. Devotional service is never within the jurisdiction of the law of karma. It is stated in the Bhagavad Gita and the devotees transcend the reactions of the three modes of material nature and stand on the platform of Brahman realization. Brahma bhuyaya kalpate. The Bhagavad Gita says so. Sa gunam samita yaitan. Brahma bhuyaya kalpate. The devotees of the Supreme, of the Personality of Godhead, transcend all reactions of the three modes of material nature and are situated on the transcendental Brahman platform. The devotees are liberated both in this life and in the next life. Any work done in this material world for yajna or for Vishnu or Krishna is considered to be liberated work. But without connection with the Achutya, the infallible Supreme Person, Personality of Godhead, there is no possibility of stopping the resultant actions of law of karma. The life of Krishna consciousness is the life of liberation. The conclusion is that the devotee, by the grace of Lord, is liberated both in this life and the next. Whereas karmis, jnanis, and yogis are never liberated, either in this life or in the next. The personified Vedas continue, Dear Lord, anyone who by your grace has understood the glories of your lotus feet is callous to the material happiness and distress. The material pangs are inevitable as long as we are existing within the material world, but a devotee does not divert his attention to such actions or reactions which are resultant of pious and impious activities. Nor is a devotee very much disturbed or pleased by praise or condemnation by the people in general. A devotee is sometimes greatly praised by the people in general of these transcendental activities, and sometimes he is criticized, even though there is no reason for adverse criticism. The pure devotee is always callous to praise or condemnation by the ordinary people. Actually, the devotee's activities are on transcendental plane. He is not interested in the praise or condemnation of people engaged in material activities. If the devotee can thus maintain his transcendental position, then his liberation in this life and the next life is guaranteed by the Supreme Person of Godhead. A devotee's transcendental position within this material world is maintained in the association of pure devotees simply by hearing the glorious activities enacted by the Lord in different ages and in different incarnations. The Krishna conscious movement is based on the principle Srila Narottama Dasa Thakur has sung, My dear Lord, let me be engaged in your transcendental loving service, as indicated by the previous acharyas, and let me live in the association of pure devotees. That is my desire, life after life. In other words, a devotee does not much care whether or not he is liberated, but he is anxious only for devotional service. Devotional service means that one does not do anything independently or sanction of the acharyas. The actions of the Krishna conscious movement are directed by the previous acharyas, headed by Srila Rupa Goswami in the association of devotees. Following these principles, a devotee is able to perfectly maintain his transcendental position.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Prabhu. Thank you so much, Nityanandan, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Zero Prabhu. Hare Krishna, Luvesh Prabhu. Who else
Hare
joined?
Krishna, Anuvet,
Vandan
Prabhu,
Pranam,
Zero
Jai Shri
Prabhu,
Prabhupada.
Research Relations, Glories to Shila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna, Zero Prabhu. Hare Krishna, Luis Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu, Hare Krishna.
Who will continue? Lebahang Prabhu, Zero Prabhu, or Luvesh
I'll
Prabhu?
continue, Prabhu. How many pages left?
Oh, you took it fast.
Sorry,
Please.
Prabhu.
You were fast, Prabhu.
Oh, oh, do someone wants to read? Because I always read.
Oh, there's so many pages. The Vedas has so much to say.
And I was actually reading the scriptures of the Vedas today. But in the Srimad Bhagavatam,
Oh,
actually.
9 pages.
Oh, I'll read 2 and pass. 2,
Yes,
3,
Prabhu.
and pass.
Thank you, Prabhu. From here.
Okay. In the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says that a devotee who knows him perfectly is very dear to him. 4 kinds of pious men take to devotional service. If a man is pious, then in his distressed condition, he approaches the Lord for mitigation of his distress. If a pious man is in need of material help, he also prays to the Lord for such help. If a pious man is actually inquisitive about the science of God, he also approaches the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. Similarly, a pious man who is simply anxious to know the science of Krishna also approaches the Supreme Lord. Out of these 4 classes of men, the last is praised by Krishna himself in the Bhagavad Gita. A person who tries to understand Krishna with full knowledge and devotion by following in the footsteps of previous acharyas, conversant with the scientific knowledge of the Supreme Lord in praiseworthy. Such a devotee can understand that all conditions of life, favorable and unfavorable, are created by the supreme will of the Lord. And when he has fully surrendered unto the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord, he does. Yes, Prabhu, you can go down. He does not care whether his condition of life is favorable or unfavorable. A devotee takes even an unfavorable condition to be the special favor of the personality of Godhead. Actually, there are no unfavorable conditions for a devotee. He sees everything coming by the will of the Lord as favorable, and in any condition of life, he is simply enthusiastic to discharge his devotional service. This devotional attitude is explained in the Bhagavad Gita. A devotee is never distressed in reverse conditions of life, nor is he overjoyed in favorable conditions. In the higher stages of devotional service, a devotee is not even concerned with the list of do's and do nots. Such a position can be maintained only by following in the footsteps of the acharyas. Because a pure devotee follows in the footsteps of the acharya, any action he performs to discharge devotional service is to be understood to be on the transcendental platform. Lord Krishna therefore instructs us that an acharya is above criticism. A neophyte devotee should not consider himself to be on the same plane as the acharya. It should be accepted that the acharyas are on the same platform as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And as such, neither Krishna nor his representative Acharya should be subject to any adverse criticism by the neophyte devotees. The personified Vedas thus worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead in different ways. Offering worship to the Supreme Lord by praying means remembering his transcendental qualities. pastimes and activities, but the Lord's pastimes and qualities are unlimited. It is not possible for us to remember all the qualities of the Lord. Therefore, the personified Vedas worship to the best of their ability. And at the end, they spoke as follows: Our dear Lord, although Lord Brahma, the predominating deity of the highest planet, Brahma Loka, and King Indra, the predominating demigod of the heavenly planet, as well as the predominating deities of the sun planet, the moon planet, etc., are all very confidential directors of this material world. They have very little knowledge about you, and what to speak of ordinary human beings and mental speculators. It is not possible for anyone to enumerate the unlimited transcendental qualities of your lordship. No one, including the mental speculators and the demigods in higher planetary systems, is actually able to estimate the length and breadth of your form and characteristics. We think that even your lordship does not have complete knowledge of your transcendental qualities. The reason is that you are unlimited. Although it is not befitting in your case to say that you do not know yourself, it is nonetheless practical to understand that because you have unlimited qualities and energies, and because your knowledge is also unlimited, there is unlimited potential, unlimited competition between your knowledge and your expansion of energies. The idea is that because God and his knowledge are both unlimited, as soon as God is cognizant of some of his energies, he perceives that he has still more energies. In this way, both his energies and his knowledge increase. Because both of them are unlimited, there is no end to the energies and no end to the knowledge with which to understand the energies. God is undoubtedly omniscient, but the personified Vedas say that even God himself does not know the full extent of his energies. How is that possible, Prabhu? This does not mean that God is not omniscient. When an actual fact is unknown to a certain person, this is called ignorance or lack of knowledge. This is not applicable to God, however, because he knows himself perfectly, but still his energies and activities increase. Therefore, he also increases his knowledge to understand it. Both are increasing unlimitedly, and there is no end to it. In that sense, it can be said that even God himself does not know the limit of his energies and qualities. How God is unlimited in his expansion of energies and activities can be roughly calculated by any sane and sober living entity. It is said in the Vedic literature that innumerable universes issue forth when Mahavishnu exhales in his yoga nidra, and innumerable universes enter his body when he again inhales. We have to imagine that these universes, which according to our limited knowledge are expanded unlimitedly, are so great that the gross ingredients, the 5 elements of the cosmic manifestation, namely earth, water, fire, air, and sky, are not only within the universe, but are covering the universe in 7 layers, each layer 10 times bigger than the previous one. In this way, each and every universe is very securely packed, and there are numberless universes, and all these universes are floating within the innumerable pores of the transcendental body of Mahavishnu. It is stated that just as the atoms and particles of dust are floating within the air along with the birds, and the number cannot be calculated, so innumerable universes are floating within the pores of the transcendental body of the Lord. For this reason, the Vedas say that God is beyond the capacity of our knowledge. Abyo Prabhu, Aban, please pronounce it semi-pro.
Yes,
Abanmansagochara. Is it something like that? Sorry, Prabhu.
Abang Manasagochara.
Abanmanasochara. Yeah, that's a long word. To understand the length and breadth of God is beyond the jurisdiction of our mental speculation. Therefore, a person who is actually learned and sane does not claim to be God. but tries to understand God, making distinctions between spirit and matter. By such careful discrimination, one can clearly understand that the Supreme Soul is transcendental to both the superior and inferior energies, although he has a direct connection with both. In the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna explains that although everything is resting on his energy, he is different or separate from the energy. Nature and the living entities are sometimes designated as Prakti and Purusa, respectively. The whole cosmic manifestation is an amalgamation. What?
Amalgamation.
Amalgamate. Oh, Prabhu, it slips my tongue.
Amalgamation. Amalgamation.
Amalgamation. Okay. Amalgamation of the Parakti and Purusha nature is the ingredient cause, and the living entities are the effective cause. These two causes combine together, and the effect is this cosmic manifestation. When one is fortunate enough to come to the right conclusion about the cosmic manifestation and everything which is going on within it, he knows it to be caused directly and indirectly by the Supreme Personality of Godhead Himself. It is concluded in the Brahma Samhita, therefore, Ishvara Parama Krishna Sachi Ananda Vigraha Anandirandir Govinda Sarva Karanakaranam. After much deliberation and consideration, when one has attained the perfection of knowledge, he comes to the conclusion that Krishna or God is the original cause of all causes. Instead of speculating about the measurement of God, whether he is so long or so wide, or philosophizing, one should come to the conclusion of Brahma Samhita, Sarva Karanam. Krishna or God is the cause of all causes. That is the perfect of knowledge. Thus, the Veda Stuti, or the prayers offered by the personified Vedas to the Garbhodakshai Vishnu, were first narrated in disciplinic succession by Sanandana to his brothers, all of whom were born of Brahma in the beginning of the four Kumaras. Were the firstborns of Brahma, therefore they are known as the Purva Jata. It is stated in the Bhagavad Gita that the Parampara system or the disciplinic succession begins with Krishna himself. Prabhu, the Kumaras were the ones who were not married, ne? Who went into austerities. Okay, Prabhu. Okay, I lost my place, but then I'll go from here. Krishna himself. Similarly, here in the prayers of the personified Vedas, it is to be understood that the Parampara system begins with the personality of Godhead, Narayana Rishi. We should. How many Narayanas are there, Prabhu? Is it 3 or 4? Because I saw Narayan. Now I see Narayana
There
Rishi.
is a limited amount of Narayanas.
Oh. We should remember that this Veda Stuti is being narrated by Kumara Sanadana, and the narration is being repeated by Narayana Rishi in Bodhi Asharam. Narayana Rishi is the incarnation of Krishna for showing us the path of self-realization by undergoing severe austerities. In this age, Lord Chaitanya demonstrated the path of pure devotional service by putting himself in the role of a pure devotee. Similarly, in the past, Lord Narayana Rishi was an incarnation of Krishna who performed severe austerity in the Himalayan ranges. Shri Narada Muni was hearing from him. So in the statement given by Narayana Rishi to Narada Muni, as it was narrated by Kumara Sanadana in the form of Veda Stuti, it is understood that God is the one supreme and that all others are his servants. In the Chaitanya Chamrita, it is stated Ekala Ishvara Krishna. Krishna is the only supreme God. Ara Sarva Burtaya. Burtaya. All others are his servants. Yare Yaiche Nachayam. Se Taichi Kare Nitya. The Supreme Lord, as his desires, is engaging all the living entities in different activities, and thus they are exhibiting the different talents and tendencies. This Veda Stuti is thus the original instruction regarding the relationship existing between the living entity, the different talents and tendencies. This Veda Stuti is thus the original instruction regarding the relationship existing between the living entity and the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The highest platform of realization for the living entity is the attainment of this devotional life. One cannot be engaged in devotional life or Krishna consciousness unless he is fully free from material contamination. Narayana Rishi informed Narada Muni that the essence of all Vedas and Vedic literature, namely the four Vedas and the Upanishads and the Puranas, teaches that the rendering of transcendental loving service to the Lord. In this connection, Narayana Rishi has used one particular word, rasa, in devotional service. This rasa is the via media or the basic principle for exchanging a relationship between the Lord and the living entity. A rasa is okay. A rasa is also described in the Vedas as Ishvarasya. The Supreme
Ishavasya.
Lord is, yeah, what Prabhu?
Ishavasya.
Isha Vasya. Oh, I said Ishvarasya. Oh, Isha Vasya. Limited zooming, Prabhu. Unlimited. The Supreme Lord is the reservoir of all pleasure. All the Vedic literatures, the Puranas, the Vedas, the Upanishads, the Vedanta Sutras, etc., are teaching the living entities how to attain the stage of rasa. The Bhagavatam also says that the statements in the Mahapurana, Srimad Bhagavatam, contain the essence of rasas in all Vedic literatures. Nigama Kalpa Taror Galitam Pahalam. Is it Palam or Palam? Pahalam. The Bhagavatam Palam. The Bhagavatam is the essence of the ripened fruit in the tree of the Vedic literature. We understand that with the breathing of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, they issued forth the four Vedas, namely the Rig Veda, the Sama Veda, Yaru Veda, and the Artharva Veda. I think they were compiled by, is it Vyasadeva Prabhu?
Yes,
Okay.
Vyasadeva. Yes.
Okay, so I just want to know, remember there was just one Veda, right? Is Narada Muni the compiler of that one Veda?
No. Just one Ved.
Who
in the beginning. Ved means knowledge. Ved
Yes,
means
understand.
Yeah. So in the beginning, it was just one book. I think Vyasadeva also compiled it. Yeah.
Okay, namely the Rig Veda, the Sama Veda, Yarur Veda, and the Artharva Veda, and the histories like the Mahabharata and all the Puranas. Also, Prabhu, after the four Vedas, then came in the Srimad Bhagavatam and the Bhagavad Gita, Mahabharata, and the Puranas, or what?
Yes, it's called the fifth Veda. Now you're gonna read about it.
Yeah. But in the beginning, first there was one Ved, then the Ved was divided into 4 parts. Then after that came the Brahma Sutras or the Vedanta Sutras. Then came the Upanishads, then came the Puranas, then came the Itihasas, which is the Mahabharata and Ramayana. And this Mahabharata and Ramayana is considered also the fifth Ved.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Very nice.
You know them by your head, eh?
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay, where was I, Prabhu? Okay, Puranas and Mahabharata are called the fifth Veda. I was there, ne, Prabhu? Or should I? Okay, let me start there. The Vedic histories like the Puranas and the Mahabharata are called the fifth Veda. The verses of Veda Stuti are to be considered the essence of all Vedic knowledge. The four Kumaras and all other authorized sages know perfectly that devotional service in Krishna consciousness is the essence of all Vedic literatures, and they are preaching this in different planets, traveling in outer space. It is stated herein that such sages, including Narada Muni, hardly ever travel on land. They are perpetually traveling in space. Prabhu, Narada Muni never got the physical material like body, ne? He was in the spiritual realm or what?
So if you read Bhagavatam Canto 1, you'll come to find out his story.
No, his story. Because I
Like,
saw him, because I saw his incarnation as there. I think it's Devarash Narada. Is he the one?
Devarshi Narada. Yeah, so basically in his past life, he served some very exalted Paramhansas, pure
Yes,
devotees.
yes.
And as a result of that, Krishna blessed him, he graced him because his mother actually passed away when he was very young. So because of that
Oh, yes.
blessing of his mother passing away, he was all alone. So he took that blessing and then he decided to travel all over this world, and try to meditate and see if he can gain the audience of Krishna. So Krishna gave him
Oh,
audience in the form of his voice. He was speaking to Narada, but Narada couldn't see him. And he was
oh,
pleased basically, and he said that because I haven't shown you my form, I'm only speaking to you just to increase your anchoring to see me.
oh, yes, yes.
So because
Correct me if
yeah,
I'm wrong. Prabhu, correct me if I'm wrong. Did he have demigods as his disciples? Like some demigods were his disciples? Because I know only of Vyasadeva.
many demigods are the disciples of Narad Muni. You can say because he's a very respected pure devotee in the heavenly planets also. So yes, I'm sure he
Oh,
has some demigod disciples as well.
Yes,
okay,
Prabhu, in every
Prabhu.
universe there is so many devotees of Narada Muni.
Yes, Prabhu.
No, yes, yes, Prabhu.
It said it somewhere. There was some comment in some book. It said he has so
Ah.
many, devotees all around. It was
I
that's
think it's Chanto 1, Prabhu. I saw it somewhere in Chanto 1,
yes, Prabhu. Somewhere there
chapter
is.
3.
I remember it.
Yes.
But
Okay.
the point is that after he was, after he gained all that hankering, the Lord Himself made the hankering for Narada Muni to see him swell, that he dedicated his entire life to searching for God. And at some point when the universe was annihilated, and the entire universe was reborn again, in that next burst of the universe, Narada Muni incarnated as the son of Brahma,
Yes.
and Brahma became his spiritual master. So like that, he became Narada Muni.
Okay.
It is written in Canto 1. You can read when you get there.
Yes, yes, Prabhu. I'm still
Yes,
in
Prabhu.
Chanto 1.
Very well.
Very well. Okay. In outer space, it is stated herein that say such sages, including Narada Muni, hardly ever traveled on land. They are perpetually traveling in space. Sages like Narada and the Kumaras travel throughout the universe in order to educate the conditioned souls and show them that their business in the world is not that of sense gratification, but of reinstating themselves again in their original position of devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It is stated in several places that the living entities the living entities are like sparks of the fire, and the Supreme Personality of Godhead is like the fire itself. Somehow or other, within the sparks fall out of the fire, they lose their natural illumination. Thus, it is ascertained that the living entities come into this material world exactly as sparks fallen from a great fire. There, the reason for this fall, as stated by the Goswamis in sense gratification, the living entity wants to imitate Krishna and tries to lord it over material nature. Thus, he forgets his original position and his illuminating power. His spiritual identity is extinguished. However, if a living entity takes to Krishna consciousness, he is reinstated in his original position. The sages and saints like Narada and the Gomaras are traveling all over the universe, educating people and encouraging their disciples to preach this process of devotional service. Service so that all the conditioned souls may be able to revive their original consciousness or Krishna consciousness and thus gain relief from the miserable conditions of material life. Sri Narada Muni is Naishtika Brahmachari. There are four types of brahmachari, and the first is called Savitra, which refers to a brahmachari who after initiation and the sacred thread ceremony must observe at least 3 days celibacy. The next is called Prajapatya, which refers to brahmachari who strictly observe celibacy for at least 1 year after initiation. The next is called Brahma brahmachari, which refers to a brahmachari who observes celibacy from the time of initiation up to the time of the completion of his study of Vedic literature. The next stage is called Naishtika. Is it Naishtika Brahmachari?
Yes,
Again,
Prabhu.
is completely reluctant to have any sex life. Therefore, the Kumaras and Narada are known as Naishtika Brahmacharis. The Brahmachari system of life is especially advantageous in that it increases the power of memory and determination. It is specifically mentioned in the connection that because Narada was Naishtika Brahmachari, would never forget it. One who can remember everything perpetually is called Shruta Dara. Shruta Dara. A Shruta Dara Brahmachari can repeat all that he has heard verbatim, without notes and without reference to books. The great, this is Yuluvesh, Prabhu. The great sage Narada has this qualification, and therefore, taking instruction from Narayana Rishi, he is engaged in propagating the philosophy of devotional service all over the world because such great sages can remember everything. They are very much thoughtful, self-realized, and completely fixed in the service of the Lord. Thus, the great sage Narada, after hearing from his spiritual master Narayana Rishi, became completely realized. He became established in the truth, and he became so happy that he offered the following prayers to Narayana Rishi. A Naishtika brahmachari is also called Virata. Narada Muni addressed Narayana Rishi as an incarnation of Krishna, and he specifically addressed him as the supreme well-wisher of the conditioned souls. It is stated in the Bhagavad Gita that Lord Krishna descends in every millennium, just as to give protection to his devotees and to annihilate the non-devotees. Narayana Rishi, also being an incarnation of Krishna, is also addressed as the well-wisher of the conditioned souls. As is stated in the Bhagavad Gita, everyone should know. Prabhu, what are you drawing? Everyone should know that there is no well-wisher like Krishna. Everyone should understand that Lord Krishna is the well-wisher of everyone and should take shelter unto Krishna. In this way, one can become completely confident and satisfied knowing that he has someone who is able to give him all protection. Krishna himself, his incarnations and his plenary expansions are all supreme well-wishers of the conditioned souls. But Krishna is the well-wisher even for the demons, for he gave salvation to all demons who came to kill him at Vrindavan. Therefore, Krishna's welfare activities are absolute. For even though he annihilates a demon or gives protection to a devotee, his activities are one and the same. It is said that the demon Putana was elevated to the same position as Krishna's mother. When Krishna kills a demon, it should be known that the demon is supremely benefited by this. However, a pure devotee is always protected by the Lord. Narada Muni, after offering respects to his spiritual master, went to the ashram of Vyasadeva and narrated the entire story to his disciple. Thus, Narada Muni, being properly received by Vyasadeva in his ashram and seated very comfortably, began to narrate what he had heard from Narayana Rishi. Prabhu, one thing I want to ask about the incarnation of Rashab. Is it Rashab?
Rishabh, yeah.
Rashab. Is he the one who came to remind us of the Varnasharam?
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay, Prabhu.
He gave that knowledge also.
Okay. Okay. Narada Muni, being properly in his aram and seated began to narrate what he had heard from Narayana Rishi. In this way, Sukadev Goswami informed Maharaj Parikshit of the answers to his questions regarding the essence of Vedic knowledge and regarding what is considered to be the ultimate goal in the Vedas. The supreme goal in life is to seek the transcendental blessing of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and thus became engaged in the loving service of the Lord. And Prabhu, yeah, this question I wanted to ask: Sukadev Goswami was was it the dialogue between Sukadev Goswami and Parikshit Maharaj, or was it Suta Dev Goswami?
So basically, Suta Goswami was actually narrating the dialogue between Shukadev and Parikshit, and that dialogue between Shukadev and Parikshit is Bhagavatam.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but so the initial conversations between Suta Goswami and the sages at Naimisharanya, that is also included in the first few chapters of Canto 1. In fact, the entire, I think 98, sorry, not 98, sorry, 90% of Canto 1 is just Suta Goswami giving an introduction, basically, before he narrates how Parikshit Maharaj met Shukadev Goswami. And when that happened, then Shukadev Goswami took over. But yes, the entire Bhagavatam dialogue between Shukadev Goswami and the Maharaj Parikshit was narrated by Suta Goswami to the sages of Naimisharanya. So it's a dialogue within a dialogue, like that. Bhagavad Gita is the same, right?
Yes.
So Sanjay was speaking to Dhritarashtra about the conversation which was going on between Krishna and Arjuna. So again, dialogue within dialogue. So Bhagavatam is like that.
Yes. Oh.
All the pastimes that Sukadeva Goswami is mentioning to Maharaj Parikshit, that's again more insight. So it's like inception, you know. It's like a dialogue of a dialogue of a dialogue, like that.
Okay, bro. Yeah. So Sukadev Goswami is actually the spiritual master of Suta Dev Goswami too.
I don't know about that. I don't know. Maybe you have to consult Bhagavatam for that. But as far as I know, Suta Goswami narrating to the sages of Naimisharanya occurred in a different time.
Okay, yes. Haribo. In this way, Sukadev Goswami informed Maharaj, but oh no, wait, I was actually low. Where was I? But then, can I continue from there? In this way, Sukadev Goswami informed Maharaj Parikshit of the answer to his question regarding the essence of Vedic knowledge and regarding what is considered to be the ultimate goal in the Vedas. The supreme goal in life is to seek the transcendental blessings of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and thus become engaged in the loving service of the Lord. One should follow in the footsteps of Sukadev Goswami and all the Vaishnavas in the disciplinic succession and should pay respectful obeisances unto Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Hari. The four sects of Vaishnava disciplinic succession, namely the Mahadava Sampradaya, the Ramanuja Sampradaya, the Prabhu, can you zoom there? I actually have very bad eyes, Prabhu. Always at the screen. Okay. Okay, Vishnu Swami Sampradaya and the Nimbakar Sampradaya. So, Prabhu, isn't there Shaivat, like the Shaivats? What Sampradaya do they follow? Or is it called Shaivites?
No. So basically, again, the four Sampradayas are the Kumara Sampradaya, Brahma Sampradaya, Rudra Sampradaya, and Shri Sampradaya. So these acharyas are actually the first spiritual masters in these four disciplic successions. So these disciplic successions are also known by the first spiritual masters in these acharyas, which were chosen by the Kumaras or Rudra or Brahma or Lakshmi Devi.
Okay, Prabhu.
So another name of these sampradayas can also be the first spiritual masters that were chosen by them. That also you can say.
Yes, Prabhu. Okay, very clear. And the Nimbarka Sampradaya is prescience of all Vedic conclusions. Agrees. Prabhu, you're answering questions here by me and you're answering in the chat box, multitasking. And the Nimbaka Sampradaya is in prescience of Vedic conclusions. Agree that one should surrender unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Vedic literatures are divided into two parts, the Shrutis and the Smritis. The Shrutis are the four Vedas, Rig Veda, Samaveda, Atharva Veda, and Yaju's Veda. Is it Yahoo's Veda or Yahoo's? Yaju's.
Yajus, so Yajus or Yajur, either.
Oh, Yaju Veda. Okay.
In fact, the one Ved which existed in the beginning, right? The one book Ved, that was actually called the Yajur Ved.
Okay,
Before
Prabhu.
division, it was actually called Yajur.
Yaja Veda. Okay. Wait, and the Upanishads and the Smritis and the Puranas, like Mahabharat, which includes Bhagavad Gita, the conclusion of all this is that one should know Sri Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is the. We are nearly there, Prabhu. How
Yes.
many pages?
2 pages.
2 pages. Okay, Shri Kriya. He is the Parampurusha of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, under whose superintendence material nature works, being created, maintained. Yeah, Prabhu, can you zoom in?
Oh,
Because
yes.
I'm pressing my. Yes, it's okay. Nature works, being created, maintained, and destroyed. After the creation, the Supreme Lord incarnates in 3: Brahma, Vishnu, and Lord Shiva. All of this, yeah, Prabhu. I just wanted to ask: do they fall under Garbhodakshai or Kshirodakshai? These incarnation, Brahma, Vishnu, and Lord Shiva.
In some contexts, yes, because this Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh usually refers to these ones only, because these are the Guna avatars, right?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So usually in some cases, yes, they are usually referred to the ones that come after. Like this particular Vishnu is usually Kshirodakshai Vishnu only.
Okay, okay, yes,
Usually.
yes.
But it doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be.
Oh, yes.
Depends on the context.
Oh. All these take charge of the 3 qualities of material nature, but the ultimate direction is in the hand of Lord Vishnu. The complete activities of material nature under the 3 modes are being conducted under the direction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. This is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita, Nyadara Sana, and in the Vedas, Aikshata. The atheistic Sankhyaite, is it Sankhyaite? Philosopher, Sankhyaite, it's the metaphysics. Sankhyaite philosophers offer the arguments that this material cosmic manifestation is due to Prakriti and Purusha. They argue that nature and material energy constitute the material cause and the effective cause, but Krishna is the cause of all causes. He is the cause of all material and effective causes. Prakriti and Purusha are the ultimate cause. Superficially, it appears that a child is born due to the combination of the father and mother, but the ultimate cause of both the father and the mother is Krishna. He is therefore the original cause, or the cause of all causes, as is confirmed in the Brahma Samhita. In the material nature, both the Supreme Lord and the living entities enter. The Supreme Lord Krishna, by one of his plenary expansions, manifest as the Kshirodakshai Vishnu and the Mahavishnu, the gigantic Vishnu form. It's also Karanadakshai Mahavishnu, ne Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhu. Karanadaksha is another name for Mahavishnu.
Okay. The gigantic okay, whoa. Mahavishnu, the gigantic Vishnu form lying in the causal ocean. Then from the gigantic form of the Mahavishnu, the Garbhodakshai Vishnu expands in every universe from him. Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva expand. Vishnu enters in the heart of all living entities, as well as into the material elements, including the atom. The Brahma Samhita says, Anandanatarasta. Is it right? Anandanatarasta. Paramanu.
Andantarastha paramano chayantarastham.
Yeah.
You continue. Just continue after that, bro. No problem.
Okay. Paramanu. Chayantarastam. He is within the universe and also within every atom. The living entity has a small material body taken from various species and forms, And similarly, the whole universe is but the material body of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This body is described in the Shastras as Vitara Rupa. As the individual living entity maintains his particular body, the Supreme Personality of Godhead maintains the whole cosmic creation and everything within it. As soon as the individual living entity leaves the material body, the body is immediately annihilated. And similarly, as soon as Lord Vishnu leaves the cosmic manifestation, everything is annihilated. Only when the individual living entity surrenders unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead in his liberation from material existence. Assured this is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita. Mam eva ye prapadayante mayam etam tarantite tarantite. Surrendering unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead is therefore the cause of liberation and nothing else. How the living entity becomes liberated from the modes of material nature after surrendering unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead is illustrated by a sleeping man within a room. But actually, the man himself is not within the body for a while sleeping within the body.
Here, when a man.
Oh, I skipped skipped the line. Sorry, Prabhus. When a man is sleeping, everyone sees that he is present within the room. But actually, the man himself is not within that body. For while sleeping, a man forgets his bodily existence, although other may see that his body is present. Similarly, a liberated person engaged in devotional service of the Lord may be seen by others to be engaged in the household duties of the material world. But since his consciousness is fixed in Krishna, he does not live within this world. His engagements are different exactly as the sleeping man's engagements are different from his bodily engagements. It is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita that a devotee engaged full time in the transcendental loving service of the Lord has already surpassed the influence of the three modes of material nature. He is already situated on the Brahman platform of spiritual realization. Although he appears to be living with the body or within the material world, Srila Rupa Goswami stated in this connection in his Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu that the person whose only desire is to serve Supreme Personality of Godhead may be situated in any condition in the material world, but he is to be understood as Jivan Mukta. That is to say, he is to be considered liberated while living within the body of the material world. The conclusion, therefore, is that a person fully engaged in Krishna consciousness is a liberated person. Such a person has actually nothing to do with the material world. Those who are not in Krishna consciousness are called karmis and gyanis, and they hover on the bodily and mental platforms, and thus are not liberated. Yeah, Prabhus, I wanted to ask you about these yogas. Is it yogas or what? You see I don't know, what do you call it? The pranayama, pratyahara, dharana.
Yes,
Where do they
yes.
fall under?
This falls under this Ashtanga Yoga and Hatha Yoga, no?
Oh, Ashtanga and Hatha yoga.
Yes, Prabhu.
And then the Hatha yoga and Ashtanga is it grouped with the, what do you call this? Dhyana yoga, samadhi?
Yes,
Or
Prabhu. Yes, Prabhu. This Ashtanga Yoga and Hatha Yoga falls under this Dhyana Yoga category.
okay, Prabhu.
Yeah. But Krishna consciousness includes already Dhyana Yoga. That's why we are asking people to chant Hare Krishna. Because when you chant Hare Krishna, automatically the mind becomes focused on Krishna, right? And that is
Yes,
Dhyana.
yes.
That is the ultimate Dhyana. That is why
Oh,
chanting
yes.
Krishna is the ultimate form of Dhyana Yoga.
Oh, yes, Prabhu. This situation is called Kaivalya Nirasta Yoni. A person situated on the transcendental platform becomes freed from the repetition of birth and death. This is also confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita, 4th chapter. Similarly, simply by knowing the transcendental nature of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, one becomes free from the chains of the repetition of birth and death after quitting his present body, he goes back home, back to Godhead. This is the conclusion of all the Vedas. Thus, one should surrender unto the lotus feet of Lord Krishna, and after understanding the prayers offered by the personified Vedas, thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports of the second volume, 32nd chapter of Krishna, prayers by the personified Vedas. Haribol. Yeah, now I'm feeling the nectar of reading, Prabhu.
Haribol.
Thank you so much, Prabhu.
How many chapters are left?
To deliverance of Lord
Prabhu,
Shiva. How's it?
deliverance. Why don't we read Krishna books, Prabhu? How many volumes are there?
This is the last one, Prabhu, last volume.
Oh, this is the last one. How many volumes are there? Is it two, one and two only?
Yes, Prabhu, 2.
Oh,
Oh,
six.
this
Oh, I
chapter
thought,
is very short.
I thought there were
Okay, so
like
I
9.
think three more reading sessions, I think. Then it should be finished.
No.
3-4 reading sessions, yeah.
Yes, 4. This is 7.
4. Okay.
Oh,
Let's say 5.
oh. 4. 1, 2.
5 reading sessions.
This is really long too.
Technically, I would like to read actually, and I would love to read now also. And I can actually finish that Deliverance of Lord Shiva chapter. I can easily finish if I was given an opportunity, if I may. Otherwise,
Hare
if it's late,
Krishna,
it's
Amit
okay.
Prabhu ki jai. How Amit Prabhu is back.
Revol. I would still like
Yes,
to read
Prabhu.
more.
Yeah, it's really late. Indian devotees need to leave.
It's fine, but I still want to read. I would like to read still.
Yeah, there is many chapters still. I thought we were finished, but we are not actually.
Maybe I can read Deliverance of Lord Shiva now, and I can control the thing because I can also scroll, right? If I'm given control.
Probably it will take over an hour.
Nah, it's fine. I can read nicely. Let's make a record today.
But
I can read it.
usually Prahlad Prabhu doesn't. He says it's not good that if you stay too late. At least the Indian
Oh, it's
devotees
only
cannot
6 in the
stay
evening.
long because it's
For me, it is
already
only 6
11.
in the evening. Okay, bro, no problem then.
Yeah, tomorrow we will continue again earlier, so we can maybe finish the whole chapter.
Okay, bro. Well, then
Yes.
I'm reading first.
Yes, Prabhu.
Shastakam.
Yeah, now Lebahang Prabhu read 9 pages, and it was like 20 minutes maybe.
Hari bol.
But Lebahang Prabhu said he's gonna read 2 pages, so I don't know what happened in between there. I was waiting for 2 pages. He says, "Well, I'm just gonna do 2 pages."
I went over, Prabhu.
Okay, who will start?
Yeah, I can start maybe. Can I start? Cheto darpanam marjanam bhava mahadavagni nirvarpanam shreya kaivara chandrika vitaranam vidya vadu jivanam anandam burdi vardanam pratipadam purnam retasvadanam sarvatmasnanam param vijayate Shri Krishna Sankritanam.
नाम्नामकारि बहुधा निज सर्वशक्तिस्तत्रार्पिता नियमितः स्मरणेन कालः एतादृशी तव कृपा भगवन् ममापि दुर्दैवमीदृशमिह जनिनानुरागः
Junadapi sunicena tarorapi sahishnuna amanina manadena kirtaniya sada hari.
न धनं न जनं न सुन्दरीं कवितां व जगदीश कामये मम जन्मनि जन्मनीश्वरे भवतात् भक्तिरहैतुकी त्वयि
Ainandatanuja kinkaram patitam mam vishame bhavam buddho kripaya tvavapada pankaja stitaduli sadrisham vichintaya.
नयनं गलदश्रुधारया वदनं गद्गद हृदया गिरा पुलकैर्निचितं वपुः कदा तव नाम ग्रहणे भविष्यति
युगायितं निमिषेण चक्षुषा प्रविशायितं शून्यायितं जगत्सर्वं गोविन्दविरहेण मे
आश्लिष्यावपादरतां पिनस्तु माम् अदर्शनान् मर्महतां करोतु वा यथा तथा विदधातु लम्पटो मत्प्राणनाथस्तु स एव नापरः.
Ribo. Glory to the Sri Krishna Sankirtan, which cleanses the heart of all the dust accumulated for years and extinguishes the fire of conditional life of repeated birth and death. The Sankirtan movement is the prime benediction for humanity at large because it spreads the rays of the benediction moon. It is the life of all transcendental knowledge. It increases the ocean of transcendental bliss and it enables us to fully taste the nectar for which we are always anxious.
O my Lord, your holy name alone can render all benedictions to living beings, and thus you have hundreds and millions of names like Krishna and Govinda. In these transcendental names, you have invested all your transcendental energies. There are not even hard and fast rules for chanting these names. O my Lord, out of kindness, you enable us to easily approach you by your holy names, but I am so unfortunate that I have no attraction for them.
One should chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking oneself lower than the straw in the street. One should be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and should be ready to offer all respect to others. In such a state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly.
O Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor do I desire beautiful women, nor do I want any number of followers. I only want your causeless devotion service, birth after birth.
O son of Maharaj Nanda Krishna, I am your eternal servitor, yet somehow or other I have fallen into the ocean of birth and death. Please pick me up from this ocean of death and place me as one of the atoms at your lotus feet.
Oh my Lord, okay, you can continue, Prabhu.
Fine, Prabhu.
Or should I read?
Yes, Prabhu, you can read.
Oh my Lord, when will my eyes be decorated with tears of love flowing constantly when I chant your holy name? When will my voice choke up, and when will the hairs of my body stand on end at the recitation of your name?
Oh, Govinda, feeling your separation, I am considering a moment to be like 12 years or more. Tears are flowing from my eyes like torrents of rain, and I am feeling all vacant in the world in your absence.
I know no one but Krishna as my Lord, and he should remain so even if he handles me roughly, but his embrace or make me broken-hearted, but not being present before me. He is completely free to do anything and everything, for he is always my worshipful Lord unconditionally.
Ribo.
Haribo.
Thank you,
Zero,
Zero
Prabhu.
Prabhu, Jai.
Jai.
And actually, Prabhu, that's his nickname. It's not his name.
Oh, really? Maybe he will get
Yes.
initiated name according to this name. Let's see.
Is that oh, yes. The first offense to blaspheme the devotees who've dedicated their lives for propagating the holy name of the Lord.
To consider the names of demigods like Lord Shiva or Lord Brahma to be equal to or the independent of the name of Lord Vishnu.
To disobey the orders of the spiritual master.
To blaspheme the Vedic scriptures or scriptures in pursuance to the Vedic version.
To consider the glories of chanting Hare Krishna to be an imagination.
To give some interpretation to holy name of the Lord.
To commit sinful activities on the strength of the holy name.
To consider the chanting of the Hare as one of the auspicious ritualistic activities which are offered in the Vedas as fruit of activities, karma kanda.
To instruct the faithless person about the glories of the holy name.
To not have complete faith in the chanting of the holy name and to maintain material attachments even after understanding so many instructions on this matter. It is also an offense to be inattentive while chanting. Every devotee who claims to be Vaishnava must guard against these offenses in order to quickly achieve the desired success. Krishna Prema, Vanchakalpatarubhyascha,
कल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यैव च
Vishnu
वैष्णवेभ्यो
Namo
नमो
Namo Hare
नमः
Krishna.
गौर वैष्णविंद की
Jai.
जय शिला प्रभुपाद की जय जय गौर
Jai.
प्रेमानंद हरि हरि
Hari
बोल
Hari Bol. Jai.
Bol. Jai.
Lukas Prabhu,
Yes, Prabhu.
one question about Lord Shiva. Hey?
Lord who?
Lord Mahesh, how do you call
Oh,
him?
Lord
I
Shiva.
was,
Okay.
yes, is he like, I don't get his, actually like, what can I call it, his, the avatar, is it the original portion of the Lord? Is he like a living entity, you know?
No, so basically actually he has a unique position. He is not a Jivatma, but at the same time he's also not God. He's actually holds a very unique position in between.
Yes.
And he has 80, I think 84 qualities. Vishnu has 94. And Krishna has actually let me show you. Prabhupada speaks on this.
Wow.
94. Yeah. So basically, here Krishna is saying, yes. So Prabhupada says in one conversation that is it?
In Finland they have big market, like I don't know the name, many markets that are called Shiva or
Oh,
Shiva.
okay. Okay,
These
so Prabhupada is saying that so some of them are in the Vishnu category. The Vishnu category means they are almost equal to Krishna. It is estimated the Vishnu categories, they have 94% opulence of Krishna. And the next category is Shiva category. The Shiva category has 84% of all the opulence of Krishna. And the next category is Brahma category, Brahma. So Brahma category means living entities. When they are perfect, they can obtain 78% of the opulence of Krishna. So Krishna is 10%. Vishnu or Narayan is 94%. Lord Shiva is 84%. And we, in our perfection, we are 78%. Is that clear?
Yes, Prabhu.
Yeah.
people
So